It was one of those chilly autumn afternoons where the air felt heavy with the scent of rain, though the clouds hadn't yet opened. The streets were busy, full of people hurrying to wherever they needed to be, shoulders hunched, eyes fixed forward, the way city people often moved, efficient, determined, and utterly uninterested in the world around them. On a weathered bench near the fountain in Jefferson Park sat an old woman. Her coat was far too thin for the season, her hair a wild halo of silver strands, and her frail hands clutched a worn leather purse. She looked like she had been sitting there for hours. People passed her as though she were invisible. Some glanced her way, their eyes flitting over her with a quick judgment before sliding away. Others didn't notice her at all. She might as well have been another discarded object in the park, like the empty coffee cup lying at her feet. She sat motionless except for the occasional tremor in her hands. Her eyes moved in small, darting motions, scanning the space as if searching for something, or someone, familiar. But the longer she sat, the more lost she seemed, as though the world around her were slowly erasing her. She tried once or twice to catch someone's eye, her lips parting to speak, but the pedestrians hurried past, unwilling to slow down for an elderly stranger. It wasn't that anyone was deliberately cruel. They were simply wrapped in their own worlds, too busy to wonder why she sat there alone, or what her story might be. About a block away, Jamal was leaving his part-time job at a small grocery store. 16 years old, tall for his age but still wiry, he carried a battered backpack over one shoulder. His shoes were worn thin, the soles peeling in places, but he didn't mind much, he was used to making things last. His mom worked long shifts at the hospital, and every dollar counted. After school, he worked evenings stocking shelves to help with rent and groceries. He was tired, hungry, and ready to get home when he noticed her, the old woman on the bench, small and shivering against the wind. He almost walked past. He had homework waiting, and his stomach growled for the leftovers waiting in the fridge. But something in the way she sat caught his attention. There was a stiffness to her posture, like she was holding herself together by sheer will. Her eyes, a pale blue, had the lost look of someone who wasn't just waiting for someone to arrive but unsure if they would ever come. Jamal slowed, his sneakers scuffing against the pavement, and studied her for a moment. Everyone else walked around her without a glance, the crowd flowing past like water around a rock in a stream. "Ma'am," he called gently as he approached. She turned her head sharply, startled, her eyes locking onto his with an almost desperate focus. Are you okay?" he asked. Her lips trembled before she answered. I don't know where I am," she admitted, her voice soft and wavering. "I think I might be lost." Jamal glanced around. There was no one else near her who seemed to know her. "Do you have family nearby?" I'm not sure," she whispered, her hands gripping the purse tighter. "I went for a walk. And then, everything looks different now." Jamal's chest tightened. He'd seen people in trouble before, but something about her vulnerability got to him. "It's okay," he said quietly. "You're not alone now." Without thinking twice, he extended his hand. She hesitated for a moment, her thin fingers trembling in the air, then placed her hand in his. Her grip was surprisingly firm for someone so frail. He led her away from the bench and toward a small cafe just around the corner. As they walked, he kept glancing at her to make sure she was steady. She moved slowly, each step measured, but there was a relief in her face now, as though just having someone walk beside her was enough to anchor her in the moment. Inside the cafe, the warmth was immediate. Jamal guided her to a booth near the back and helped her sit down. The waitress, a young woman with bright red hair, gave them a curious look but didn't comment when Jamal asked for 2 hot teas and a slice of apple pie. When the food arrived, the woman cupped the tea in both hands, letting the steam warm her fingers. "Thank you," she said softly. "You didn't have to stop for me." "Yeah, I did," Jamal replied. "No one should be out there alone and lost like that." She studied him for a moment, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "You remind me of someone I knew a long time ago. Someone who believed people were worth helping, no matter who they were." "What happened to them?" Jamal asked. "They died," she said simply, though there was a flicker of pain in her eyes. "And after that, the world felt a little colder." She took a sip of tea and sighed. "I've been away for a while. Things have changed. It's harder to recognize places, faces. Sometimes, I get turned around." Jamal nodded slowly, wondering if she might be dealing with some kind of memory loss. "Do you have anyone I can call?" She hesitated, then reached into her purse and pulled out a small card holder. Inside were a few worn business cards, one with a gold-embossed name, Margaret Wexler. Beneath it was an address in an upscale part of town Jamal had only seen from the bus windows. He'd never met anyone from that neighborhood, but he recognized the name. Wexler. There had been an article about her years ago, something about a wealthy philanthropist who funded schools, libraries, and hospitals. "This you?" he asked, showing her the card. Her smile deepened. "That was me," she said. "Still is, I suppose. But money doesn't help you much when you're lost on a park bench and no one stops to see if you're all right." The realization hit him harder than expected. This woman, this frail, trembling figure, was a billionaire. And yet, sitting out there in the cold, no one had cared enough to ask her if she needed help. It was a thought that made Jamal's stomach twist. "I can walk you home," he offered. She looked at him for a long moment before nodding. "I'd like that." The journey to her address took nearly an hour on foot. They talked as they walked, her voice growing steadier with each step. She told him about her youth, how she had started her first business in her 20s with nothing but an idea and a stubborn will. She'd made her fortune in real estate, but what she was proudest of wasn't the money, it was the programs she'd started to help underprivileged kids get an education. "You'd be